I wasn't going to do this video, but then I thought I have to be fair, right? Today's book is entitled Wolf at the Door by author Joel McKay. And I found myself halfway through this story and I thought there is no way that I'm going to do a review of this book. But then I thought if I review a traditionally published author and I give them a bad review, then I have to do the same for an indie published author as well. I have to treat each author the same regardless of how they publish their books. Let me just start off by saying, after finding out what this book was about and reading the first paragraph and downloading it, I was really expecting more, and it kind of hurt for me to have this big expectation of this story and for the story just to end up not going where I thought it would be. Wolf at the Door is a short story centered around the Dearborn family as they host Thanksgiving dinner for a few of their close family members and neighbors. Unfortunately, a few unexpected guests show up who I'm pretty sure wish that they had decided to spend their Thanksgiving dinner somewhere else. But it's okay because the two neighbors, Craig and Amy, who were originally invited, they aren't able to make it because of a transformation that happens to coincide with the full moon that takes place on the same night as Thanksgiving. So, okay, here's where I have the problem. If a person who has the tendency to transform into a werewolf, should they not be taking precautions on the night of a full moon and probably lock themselves up and forgo that invitation to Thanksgiving at the neighbor's house? Then again, maybe they felt that the tryptophan from the turkey will forestall their transformation. I mean, I've never been a werewolf before, so who knows? It might have worked. And I know what you may be thinking. Well, T, anyone who watches a horror movie knows there is always someone who does something stupid. Because how else are you going to have a horror movie if that girl doesn't trip or that guy doesn't go and try to find out what made that sound? And I want to say, yes, you are correct. But this crazy little matter of a couple who have been stricken with a lycanthropy affliction, not taking simple precautions, is not my only issue with this story. If so, I would have had no problem overlooking it because it is a horror story. But my main issue with this story is that it suffers from the same issues that I tend to run across when I read a lot of books by indie authors. That pesky little issue of inconsistency. And with this being a short story with only 125 pages, there are a few inconsistencies. There is an instance where a person who took off their seatbelt a few pages before is taking off their seatbelt again a few pages later. Or we have the issue of the author forgetting that the electricity at the house was taken out after a car ran into it, but mentions later that two of the characters make sure to leave the lights out in the garage so as not to alert the werewolf to their whereabouts. I mean, how can you forget that the electricity is out? It's a major factor within the story. So if you haven't guessed already, Craig and Amy transform into werewolves and wreak havoc at the Dearborns, ruining Thanksgiving as they bring forth death and dismemberment to those closest to them. And although I am a big fan of gore, there were a few times when I was hoping that a few of these characters would make it to the end. And I wish that the author would have given them a way out. I'm not saying that there weren't a few characters that, shall we say, got what they deserve, but there were some pretty innocent characters that you didn't have to do that to them. You didn't have to take them out like that, McKay. And as I said, there is no lack when it comes to the body count, and I will give it to the author when it comes to describing how each of these deaths take place. McKay does a great job at allowing the reader to visualize the decapitations and the slaughter at the hands and mouths of these bloodthirsty beasts. So although I wasn't a big fan of Wolf at the Door, I did give the book 3 stars based on the gore factor alone. However, I did see that the book had 33 ratings on Amazon and most of them were 5 stars, so it could just be me. and you may find yourself curious to find out how these survivors made it until the morning. And if so, you might want to pick up a copy for yourself. So I will be dropping a link to the book in the description for any of you who may be interested. So that concludes today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed today's review. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and try to do something nice for a stranger so that we can all do our part to try and make this world a better place.